Greetings, everyone. Jonathan here, and today is Sunday, the 21st, the 21st day of the vlog, and the last full 24 hours we get to work for opening night. And by that I mean this is like the last day we get to completely and totally dedicate to the haunt. Yeah, we have until Friday, but like as far as like days off, this is it. Every day from here on out, at least one of us, Crystal or I, will be working part of the day. In fact, I'll be working at least part of every day, and I think Crystal will be too. Though she might have, I know she has Friday off, but at least one of us will be working a part of the day every day. We will have Crystal's father and brother down on Wednesday morning. They'll be able to help us finish up or polish up anything that we've done. But I'm feeling really, really good about where we are right now. I think we got to put the last scare in place. I think it's built, but we just got to screw it into place. After that, we got to hang some fabric, hang a few more lights, and other than that, I think we're really entering clean-out mode, getting with the actors, talking, nailing down costumes, minor stuff like that. So I think we're pretty much on the home stretch here. Puts us way ahead of where we usually are. I know it sounds like, whoa, late in the season to get all this done. No. I mean, usually we're working on things up until the hours before opening. I'm not kidding or exaggerating as I say that. It's actually very true. So we're doing very good this year. I'm very proud of how much better we have gotten at this. But since the mood is an optimistic one here, of course I want to talk about failure. And failure is something I think is a very big part of what we do here at Bernie Baxter's and what I think we do as a small haunt. What I think a lot of haunt, something that I think a lot of larger haunts don't do and should do. And that is we give ourselves permission to fail. We encourage failure. I'd rather, fail with a new idea than succeed with an old one. And that's something I'm pretty big on. And that's one of the things about this haunt is everything we do, yes, we do reuse elements that are successful, but we try new things all the time. Every year we're trying at least one new thing. And when you try new things, or at least using something you've seen in a new way, you're taking a risk. You risk failure, and we have failed many times. And I'll talk about the three biggest failures I can think of off the top of my head. The first one comes in 2007. That was the first year we opened at this location. The theme that year is Vincent's Victims. I remember that quite well. And it was an all-around terrible haunt. We were a bit handicapped that year. We moved into the house in July, and we had to have a brand new haunt built by October. And I know that sounds like a lot of time, but you got to remember, doing a new construction takes a lot more time than repurposing and rearranging an old one. So we were building from scratch and trying to get it done in like 3 months. It was pretty impressive that we got anything done at all. But we did. We got a haunt together. One of the gags we had in it was a swinging head gag. So the idea was you come into the haunt, go into the back room, and in the back room you'd see Vincent sitting there working on his sculptures. He was an evil sculptor. And you would think it's the real Vincent, but that was a dummy Vincent. The real Vincent was behind a curtain. He would jump out, and that worked remarkably well. That old trick worked amazingly well. But as you turned to the left and went down a hall, at the end of the hall, a head was to swing from out in front of, almost down, it was supposed to swing from the side of the garage toward you, like in that motion. And it wasn't supposed to actually get anywhere near you, but look like it was going to hit you in the face, was the idea behind it. We actually put stoppers on it so it couldn't get anywhere in the walking path, but it really had a convincing effect. Loved it. This was an engineering challenge, because we had to have it so that a person on the other side of the garage could, with a quick release, let the head swing. And it was actually done very cleverly, very simply, but it was a 2-day project because of all the hanging and rigging we had to do in the ceiling. Wasted 2 days in a very, very tight build time getting that done. Totally failed as a scare. Did not get anyone, I think, the whole night. And the reasons were plenty. One, it only scared on one sense. You try to scare at least on two senses, like sight and sound, or sight and touch, or sound and touch, or something like that. You never try to scare just with one sense. The second was the rigging was so overcomplicated that it didn't work reliably. It was impossible to time the swing so that it came right as people were close to it. And the third thing is people don't move in a predictable pattern, so of course, once again, you can't time it. So it was mistimed, overthought, and not very effective. And this was where we kind of learned to go simple and go big, were the two big lessons from that. And we kind of took those into everything we did. The second failure I want to talk about is the guillotine door. This was actually the exit to the haunt 2 years ago. And the idea here was Crystal's dad built this as quote-unquote guillotine. It's basically a metal frame with a metal slide in it. And it's a big, heavy slide. We haven't actually weighed it, but it must weigh a ton. It feels like it weighs a ton at least. And the idea is you can raise it, latch it, and drop it, and it makes this beautiful, delicious noise that you can hear like a block away. It's scary, it's earth-shattering. It really is a great thing, but we never found a way to use it in the haunt, and it was very frustrating. So we finally came up with an idea where we'd set up a fake exit door, and the idea was behind the exit door was the guillotine, and when you pulled on the fake exit door to get out, you would release the latch, the guillotine would drop, you'd see it drop, and bam, and you'd feel it, and you'd hear it, and be right there staying by it, and it would shake the ground underneath you if it was done correctly. And I'll say this, that gag was very, very scary. I think it got pretty much everyone at some point, but everything about that guy was wrong. One is it wasn't safe. Trying to give people a fake exit door is a terrible idea. I feel guilty as hell about doing that. The second problem with it is the mechanism for it just wasn't reliable. It worked, literally we got it to work like 5 minutes before opening that year, and it made it all the way through Halloween night, and then I went to show someone the mechanism on November 1st. It might have even been later Halloween night after we closed, and the gate latch, which we were using to keep it up, snapped. Just gone. So yeah, it isn't long lasting, and if a scare isn't safe and if it isn't reusable, I don't consider it a success. So I definitely don't consider that one a success. In fact, I think it's probably my worst failure. I feel really bad about using it. The third scare is one that probably hurts me the most, and that is the drop ceiling. We wanted to do something for a long time that makes it feel like the roof is coming down. And this is actually a pretty trivial effect to achieve. You just set up a frame and you drop something on top of it. And the first year we did it, we got a little piece of plywood paneling on a hinge, slam it down right over people's heads. Didn't work. Just flat out didn't work. It was loud, it was obnoxious, but it really didn't scare anyone. And the reason was, A, it was such a small piece that we couldn't time it so people were underneath it. And the second thing is it was so small, so tame, that people probably didn't even notice it was going off over their heads. And this was something that was very scary to us as we were building the haunt. We would routinely, drop it on each other as a prank, and I don't remember what the final count was, but it was really high for everyone getting punked with that. But next year we figured, okay, we'll just correct the problems with it and reuse the scare. We moved it to a new location, moved it to a corner, so now people have to, go around a corner, and that gives you more time to drop it. Make it much larger, made it about 3 times the size, 3 times the surface area, made it much heavier, and reinforced the frame way stronger. It's just bigger, better, and in a better location. We thought it was actually going to work, and it still didn't work. We realized, once again, it's scaring really in that dark corner on one sense alone. It's an auditory one, maybe a little bit of a feeling with the air moving, but not really much feeling. So we added a tactile element to it by hanging streamers, and that way you feel the streamers come down on you. But that didn't work either, and the problem with it was it just wasn't enough. And it's one of those scares we've literally done, I think that was 3 years I just described. We've done it 3 years. It still hasn't worked. We haven't been able to force it. I don't know. We're not using it this year, at least not in that regard. We do have a use for that mechanism, but it's not as a drop ceiling. So you will see it in there. You will see it used, but you won't see it used as we've used it in the past. And I think the way it's going to be used this year is much scarier because we're going to go with what actually worked in that space this year. So 3 epic failures we've had. Maybe tomorrow I'll come around and do one on the successes we've had, some of the better ideas we've had. So until tomorrow, though, this is Jonathan Bailey, signing off.